It's time for the League LowDown! Yo, insiders. Welcome to episode 8 of the League LowDown. We are recapping week 9 and hyped for week 10. Rivalry week, baby. The final week of the regular season. We've got blowouts, hard stoppers, and a coming out party in Fort Washington. I'm your host, Coach Mayhem, joined by my co-host, Suburban One insiders, OG.
Yo, Mayhem. Week 9 was a little bit chaotic around town, but now it is rivalry week, this week 10. Let's bring the thunder and dive right in.
CDS Wealth Management is a proud sponsor of the League LowDown.
All right, we're hitting the ground running with our week 9 recap. Plymouth Whitemarsh secured their 5th straight American Conference crown by taking down Upper Moreland 28-18. Junior running back Michael Giangiulio just went over the 1,000-yard mark. He carried the rock 22 times for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. PW didn't complete a single pass, though. They only attempted 3, but piled up an insane amount of yardage on the ground, 304 rushing yards.
They didn't just win, Mayhem. They steamrolled Upper Moreland like a fullback through a scout team defense.
For real. All right, speaking of steamrolling, Souderton crushed Council Rock North 70-0. Yep, 70-0. 7 players rushed for 45 yards. 6 different players scored touchdowns, and none had more than 6 carries. OG, as a former O-lineman, what do those averages say to you, my friend?
It says those stats are a love letter, baby. Mayhem, it's like flipping pancakes at the state fair. Every block was a masterpiece, and those backs were feasting. Souderton's line was opening gaps wider than my old playbook.
Big shout out to those hogs up front. Next, congrats to Pennsbury Falcons. They got their first win of the season, soaring past Abington 42-16. Running back Luke Begley went off. OG. He rushed for 154 yards and 5 touchdowns. In other action, Lower Moreland fell to Bristol 48-24, and Wissahickon demolished Tapper Horsham 42-7.
Hey, don't sleep on that Springfield Monco team. They edged out William Tennant 20-14. Zamir Small was a stud, rushing for 181 yards and 2 tutties. That kid's got more juice than my pregame energy drink.
Electric, my friend. Elsewhere, Central Bucks South held off Neshaminy with that upset 24-21. The defense turning an interception and 2 fumbles into 3 scores, OG. And Council Rock South squeaked by Quakertown 28-27 in a thriller, and now hold at least a share of the Continental Crown with 1 game to play. So congratulations to Council Rock South on that. Unfortunately, New Hope Salisbury had to forfeit to Executive Education Academy due to injuries. That's what happens with those low roster numbers.
Yeah, rough break for those guys. When your roster's thin, it's like trying to block a 4-3 defense with only 3 linemen. It's like 8-man football. Just doesn't work.
Too true. That National Conference, Pennridge stayed atop the mountain with a 15-8 defensive slugfest over playoff bubble team Central Bucks East. Man, East fought hard, led by Liam Hoey, who ran for 163 yards and their lone touchdown while racking up 11 tackles on the defensive side of the ball. Hunter Pulford added 113 yards on offense, and senior Timmy Furhmeister, who's joining us later, had 7 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. Pennridge, Noah's Keating, led with 167 total yards and 2 scores, 1 rushing, 1 passing, while sophomore Trevor Pichotti had 72 yards on 14 carries. Sean Luthi hauled in 47 receiving yards and snagged an interception on defense. And Blake Landherd led the defense with 11 tackles while catching 2 passes, and was on the receiving end of the Noah Keating touchdown pass.
It was a really gritty battle by both teams. I was at that game. Both teams came out fighting. I think all 3 touchdowns were scored in a span of maybe 3 minutes of game time. It just felt like all of a sudden they turned it on, and then the defense just shut everybody down again. All right, and now Mayhem's game of the week. Upper Dublin took down Bensalem 20-7, inching closer to a 5A playoff spot. I heard there was a coming out party in Fort Washington.
Oh, you know it, my friend. Sophomore cornerback Dylan Moody put Bensalem's quarterback on blast. He had 4 interceptions, and then on special teams, he had a fumble recovery. Yep, 5 turnovers. 3 picks, by the way, all before halftime. It was head coach Brett Stover said Dylan is growing up before our eyes, and he's only a sophomore. Ed Wall and Selvin Haynes, who on the coaching staff for the Cardinals, have done a remarkable job with bringing him along. OG, this kid was everywhere. The vision, the change of direction, he was out there like playing with that sixth sense. As a defensive back, man, I can see this kid with a little more development being an absolute star.
4 picks, that's like a season for some teams. That's unbelievable. It's truly a coming out party, and he's a one-man turnover factory. Moody was out there snatching balls like Lester Hayes will stick him on his gloves. All right, let's take a breather, hear from our sponsors. I'm calling timeout.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, CDS Wealth Management. Growing generational wealth through college and retirement planning shouldn't be complicated. At CDS Wealth Management, rest assured that you are more than a client. You are a foundation for a legacy to be built upon. Allow our team to cater to your family's legacy by starting with a free consultation at www.cdswealth.com.
Welcome back, Insiders. Before we preview Week 10, Rivalry Week, and the final week of the regular season, OG's going to hit us with a history lesson. Lay it on us, my man.
All right, everybody, it's Rivalry Week. That's hard to say 52 times in one segment, but here we go. So let's talk about a rivalry. All right, we know the great ones in college sports. You got Duke, North Carolina in basketball. You got Michigan, Ohio State, and then the truest rivalry of all time, anything that Army and Navy play. But this week, we're going to talk about rivalry. 4 of the 5 games that I'm going to talk about are actually played the last game of the season. Some of them have always been played on that day. Some of them have been played historically on other days during the season, back before the playoff system. But when you have a rivalry, you've got to talk about the history between the 2 schools. You got to talk the proximity of the schools and how close they are together, the competition level all the time, and then obviously the community identifying that it's a rivalry and they come out to support their teams in this game. So let's talk about a big one down in southern Bucks County. You got Neshaminy, Pennsbury. I know Pennsbury has only got 1 win. Neshamony's coming off a loss to CB South. But this game has been played since 1970. It's a regular season, the last regular season of every year. This year is the 90th meeting this week, and Pennsbury holds the edge. 44 wins, 38 losses, and back in our day, as I've talked about, we had ties. This competition has 7 ties. These 2 schools are about 7 miles apart. They will have a huge crowd this week, even though Pennsbury is not having a great season. But I think that Pennsbury might give Neshaminy a little bit of a rough go and see if they can give Neshaminy their 4th loss of the season. All right, the next one is the old one that I played in, the old CB East versus CB West game. This game was traditionally played on Thanksgiving until 1992. West leads the all-time series, 42 wins, 15 losses, and 1 tie. I know that people think, wow, that's a pretty lopsided rivalry. But a lot of those 15 wins have come in the last 20 years. The first 20 games that were played, East only had 2 wins. I was 2-0-1 against them. That one tie knocked us out of the playoffs when 1988, when the state playoffs began. Neshaminy jumped onto the field at Del Val to celebrate that they were going to go to the playoffs. Then they went and lost to Cedar Crest up at, I think it was Muhlenberg University. All right, let's talk about the Civil War, the North versus the South, Council Rock. Now, this only started in 2002 when CR South opened. North had won the first meeting, but currently South has a series lead, 12 wins to 11 wins. These schools are just 2.7 miles apart. And I know Rock North got shut out 70-0 last week, but they will come and play their very, very best against their crosstown rivals. All right, Mayhem, you might know a little bit about the next game. That's Hapro Horse in Upper Dublin. This game has been on Thanksgiving. For years it was on Thanksgiving. It's kind of gone back and forth over the last 20 years, maybe a couple games on Thanksgiving. From 1970 to 1999, Hapro dominated this series, only losing 3 times in those 30 years. The schools are just 4.7 miles apart. But listen, I'm no expert on Hapro and Upper Moreland. Hey, Mayhem, let's add to the history lesson.
Absolutely, my friend. I competed in this tradition back in 1999, 2000, 2001, and 2002. So I got to experience the Thanksgiving tradition of this rivalry. And it was absolutely amazing having a huge bonfire, the night before, doing all of the fun activities prior with the school, with the cheerleaders, the football team. And it was just a big community building time for my classmates and I. Unfortunately, my senior year, we lost to Hapro on Thanksgiving Day, our Thanksgiving Day game. But I will say this, the 3 years prior, we did win those games.
3-1.
So 3-1. And I would definitely say that the part I missed the most about that, though, and my finest memory was the night before those activities, that bonfire, and just like we had a parade around with everybody that was in the homecoming court and everything. It was a magical experience.
That's awesome. I have great memories of that kind of stuff too. And being where I am now, we have some of those traditions that still live on in Upper Bucks County. So my 5th rivalry is not a game that's played the last game of the season. It's one of those few games in the state of Pennsylvania that are still played on Thanksgiving. And hopefully we'll keep this podcast going as our teams stay in the playoffs and things like that. But this year on Thanksgiving, it'll be the 96th edition of the Thanksgiving Day game between Pennridge and Quakertown. Now, the two teams have actually played 2 other times in the playoffs in the mid-2010s. But the 96th Thanksgiving Day game. Now, Pennridge has lost 4 in a row. But overall, they lead the series 58, 32, and 5. It's one of the longest rivalries in Pennsylvania, and even with the PIAA playoffs, both teams look to hold on to this tradition for a long time to come. In 2012, Pennridge played on Thanksgiving. Quakertown was still in the same conference as Pennridge, so Pennridge needed to win that game in order to win the conference outright. Then they came back less than 48 hours later and played in the district semifinal at Poppy Field and played Springford in the snow flurries of a very chilly and windy November Saturday. And so they did play those 2 games in 48 hours with getting a win on Thanksgiving, but unfortunately losing to Springford in that district semifinal. But those are some great traditions and rivalries that we have. There are others in our conference, but things that go back very, very long time. East started in 1969. So they play in the East-West game since 1969, and it's been a great rivalry, as with the one that you played in. So there we go. It is rivalry week here in the Suburban One League.
That's some good stuff, OG. All right, let's hit a pause real quick and hear a word from our sponsors. And when we're back, we'll preview Rivalry Week and talk about some special guests we've got coming up from my Game of the Week.
Want to see more of your game insiders? Check out the link galleries of DAHC images, photos by Tom, and Trisha Lynn photography by finding your power-packed action shots at www.suburbanoneinsider.com.
We're back, insiders. Week 10 is rivalry week and the final week of the regular season, and it's crunch time for the playoffs. Here's the slate for this week's finale.
All right, Mayhem. Before we get into this week's games, I want to take a moment to address a game that is not being played this week. Cheltenham did not play last week and forfeited their game against Truman. And for this week, they were scheduled to play at Quakertown. Without going into too much detail about an issue surrounding their program, I think it's important to say, as a former AD and current administrator, this is my biggest nightmare. First and foremost, protecting our youth is our highest priority, and somewhere that did not happen at Cheltenham. As coaches and school staff, we need to be omnipresent with our teams at all times while under their supervision. I'm sorry that the Cheltenham community is dealing with this situation, but let this be a reminder to all that watch this podcast that everyone needs to do better for the best interests of their student athletes. Best of luck to Quakertown as they're now playing 9-0 Chester this week on Friday. This is important because it is Quakertown's homecoming week. And so without having a game, they would not have been able to celebrate their homecoming week with their students and their families and their friends. And having connections in Quakertown and knowing their AD very, very well, I took some time today to talk to him just to congratulate him and Coach Bannis for going out to find a game, to do the right thing for their student athletes. It's important for their community, as it is important for the Cheltenham community as they're going through a really tough time. I feel bad for the administrators and the athletic director at Cheltenham, but ultimately they had to make the best decision for their football program. Whether you agree with it or not, canceling the remaining games of the schedule was probably the right thing to do. You needed to set the tone and have the perfect climate for your student athletes going forward. So I want to wish everybody the best of luck this week. But here you go, Mayhem. Let's get into the games.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it any better myself, my friend. I hope this is turned into that teachable moment for those that were involved and a lesson is truly learned. So let's move in. Like you said, what do we got on tap?
All right, we got Ben Salem at Harry S. Truman. I think Ben Salem's going to come back off of that loss to Upper Dublin, and Harry S. Truman's had a week off, so we'll see. But I think Ben Salem's going to go down to Truman and do a pretty good job this week. Like I said, we got the Civil War, Rock North at Rock South, which is really at Rock North because they share a stadium. Gets a little confusing down there, but that's how that is. And then in a not so knowledgeable rivalry, North Penn and Abington. North Penn and Abington have historically, over the last 15, 20 years, played this as the last game of the season. It's a big breast cancer awareness night for both teams. I know when Coach Sorber was at Abington, him and Coach Beck were really good friends, and they wanted to finish off the season with those two teams. All right, back to you, Mayhem.
All right. Pennridge is going to take on Central Buck South, as we know, and as most of you have just learned, their traditional rivalry game will be held on Thanksgiving for the 96th year. Is that right? 96?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. All right. And then, we talk Pennsbury at Neshaminy, and then Plymouth Whitemarsh taking on William Tennant.
All right, last game I'm going to talk about is Souderton at Upper Dublin. I know that proximity and fan base isn't too into this rivalry, but this has become a very, very good game over the last several years. Both coaches do a fantastic job with their programs. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see, is Souderton going to relax after a 70-0 win last week, or is Upper Dublin going to drive through and say, hey, listen, we just beat a pretty good Ben Salem team and we want to get in the playoffs? So time will tell. We'll see.
Time will tell, and as of late, over the last 10 years or so, this game has significance usually because both teams are usually at the top of that division, at the top of that conference. So this is huge. This year, it's the fact that, yes, Souderton is ready for playoffs. They've got a pretty decent seed, but Upper Dublin is right there. They do currently hold the 15th seed, but a loss may knock them out of that.
Yep.
And in my game of the week, the historic showdown that once OG played in, Central Bucks West versus Central Bucks East, and it's going to be at East this year.
Listen, this game, no matter what the records are, just throw them right out the window. It's going to be electric atmosphere over in Buckingham, and I think who knows what's really going to happen. West has a 7-game win streak in this rivalry, including a 35-7 smackdown last year, and a 42-26 victory in the 2022 District 1 playoffs. West is sitting at 6-3, holding the 9th seed, while East is 5-4, clinging to the 18th seed. Fighting to crack the top 16 for a spot is going to be very interesting, and see if East can come out and beat the Bucks.
It is do or die for East, and West is looking to keep that streak alive. We've got some big-time guests joining us. Head coaches Rowan from CB West and John Donnelly from CB East, plus some players, including Timmy Furhmeister from East. Let's get started right now with those interviews. All right, as most of you insiders just learned, the East-West rivalry goes back a long time to 1969 when the two schools split, and it means a lot to each of these communities. Every part of the rivalry to be shared with everyone within the confines of 5.7 miles. First up, Coach Rob Rowan of Central Bucks West. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule and joining us, Coach. Welcome to the League LowDown.
Mike, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate everything you do covering high school football and, still putting a spotlight on what these guys do every Friday night. So grateful for you.
I appreciate that, Coach. All right, so first up, my first question for you, Coach. Your team's won 7 straight against CB East, including last year's 35-7 victory. What has been the key to the dominance of your squad in this rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really keep track of that stuff. We really try to focus on, what it takes to get prepared to play our best. And, whatever the results end up being, we'll live with them. But, really genuine when we talk about, like, we value the process that goes into getting prepared to play the game of football the right way. And, we talk about, at the end of the day, the game of football will tell you whether or not you did prepare the right way. And, so if we end up on the right side, that's great, but for us, it's all about preparation, right? It's all about, making sure that we're really valuing, right, the standards of our program on a day-by-day basis. And just believe that if you do that authentically, typically that leads to good things.
For sure, Coach. And this actually will tie into what you just said, my next question. You guys have a 6-3 record and a 6A playoff spot firmly in hand. Some may believe, not everybody, I definitely don't, that one would tend to slack off knowing maybe that this is not meaningful to you in the standings for playoffs. I know it is a rivalry game. What has it been like having to keep that momentum up heading into this rivalry game, but also keeping the guys knowing that this is still an important game? It's still in the steps of your process, as you were just speaking of.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, I think, there's a lot there. And, I'll start with this. Like, you know, this game is a big deal, man. Every game's a big deal, but obviously, right, you can't deny the realities of truth, right? And this is a huge rivalry game, as you talked about on the opener, right? They've been playing it since 1969. All right. There's a tremendous amount of just excitement and energy, all right, that is stirred up, right, when these two teams play each other. So we don't act like that isn't a real thing, but we also it's important that as a program we come back to the things that we believe in. And so no matter who we're playing on a week by week basis, we don't shift and we don't change the way that we approach every week. Depending on who the name or the color jersey that we see on the other side. So to answer your question, it hasn't been difficult at all, right? Keeping our focus where it needs to be because we're still trying to get better and we're still trying to play our best football game, which I don't think we really have come close to yet.
I agree. I like that response, Coach. I really do. Final question for you. Whether it's off the field or on the field, this rivalry for you as a head coach, the East versus West rivalry, what's your fondest memory, whether it's on the field or off the field, like I said, of this for you so far?
Yeah, there's so many things that come to mind. We played so many great games. To me, I think it's about the respect. I have so much respect for Coach Donnelly. I have so much respect for what he does as a coach and for what he does to his program. And I love the fact that our guys can go out and battle and put everything on the line. And then when the game is over, there's just such a healthy, genuine, authentic respect that exists between the two programs. And I think that's a beautiful thing, man. And I think that's really what high school football should be about, is you should be able to go to battle and play the game the right way, the game, the way footballs deserve to be played. But then when the zeros hit the clock, man, it's about respecting, people that we live with, right? These are people that we do life with. And, obviously there's prior relationships that exist before the game. And, guys have known each other for a long time. Families know each other for a long time. And, that's bigger than football. And so I just think it's a blessing to be able to compete and play the right way, but be able to continue to respect and do life together when the game's over,
I feel you on that one, Coach. I definitely do. I know as a spectator reporting on these things, last year was a phenomenal environment for me. Experiencing, it just being there and in the environment and not even playing in the game, but just experiencing everything around it left me with my hair on the back of my neck standing up. So I look forward to it. Thank you again. Next up, we have versatile athlete, junior Liam Laphen from CB West as well, joining us. Liam, CB West has owned this rivalry over the last 7 years. How does that feel to carry that streak alive? And my second question to you with that is, does it create any kind of pressure for you guys?
I think I don't look at that very much, the pressure of the winning streak. I think it's about next game because you take every opponent the same as serious as the next, and you can't like undermine or overestimate any team. You just play them just as hard, and you have to prepare just as well. And I don't think there's any pressure involved with it because I think we're all collectively as a group, we all know what we got to do and how we got to prepare.
Okay, absolutely. What's one thing for you on the, and this can be anything, offensively or defensively, you think could be a difference maker for your squad in this year's game? and this could be anything.
I think the difference maker in any football game is turnovers and the ability to force turnovers and not give turnovers to the other team. And secondly, probably physicality, because I mean, we got to bring the punch right away, and we can't, because sometimes we start off slow, but we need to bring the punch right away and play physical all 4 quarters.
All right. I get you. I totally feel that as a former Suburban One League linebacker. I feel you on that one. All right, and Liam, the last question I have for you before you guys go is the same I asked Coach. Do you have a fondest memory of this rivalry, whether it's on the field or off the field?
I'd probably say my fondest memory of this rivalry is as like a little kid, sitting with my dad in the stands, the atmosphere all around, and it was kind of some of my first experiences watching high school football, and it's puts in perspective how I'm playing in it now, and yeah.
That's beautiful.
Liam's dad was a very, very good football player here at Weston in the 90s. So there's a proud lineage and tradition there. So
Absolutely. I feel you on that one, Coach. Beautiful. All right. Liam, thank you, Coach. Thank you for taking the time out of your guys' busy schedule to answer some of my questions and some of our insiders' questions. I look forward to seeing you guys Friday night on the sidelines. I wish you good luck. We all know I have to remain neutral, but I do wish you guys luck. I will say, go Bucks, just like I said, go Patriots. But I do wish you well, and I look forward to seeing you guys and the rest of your Bucks teammates come Friday night.
appreciate it, Mike. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Next up, Insiders, head coach John Donnelly of Central Bucks East and two-way starter Timmy Furhmeister. Great to have you here, Coach. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having us. Much appreciated.
All right, Coach. So I know you guys were sitting at 5-4. You're on that playoff bubble currently. How are you rallying the team around the last week of the season, heading into and hopefully a shot at the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say to motivate the guys, when we're playing the guys from the other side of town. And, they're fully aware of what this game means. It means more. And the fact that a playoff berth is riding on it just adds to the intensity of the rivalry.
Okay, great. Yes. All right. And despite West's recent dominance, we know the last 7 meetings has went in West's favor. Coach, what's one strength you believe East brings to this matchup this year that could flip the script?
Well, I believe we're at this point in the season, believe it or not, this is the healthiest we've been all year, which I think bodes well for us. Our guys are, looking to end a streak. We haven't beaten them this decade, and our guys are fully aware of that. So we want to end that streak and start a new streak. I have a lot of respect for Coach Rowan and what he does with his staff and his program. But our guys are, like I said, there's a lot riding on it. And even after 2 tough losses against 2 very good teams, Neshaminy and Pennridge the last 2 weeks, where, we could have taken some pressure off ourselves heading into this week. And that was the intention. But, this is a big one in a million different ways.
All right. Love it. Love it. All right. And one last question for you, Coach, before you go. Whether it's on the field or off the field, what would you say is your fondest memory for the East versus West game as a head coach?
Well, the thing I tell the guys all the time is, like, I've been, as a player and as a coach, been part of a lot of different rivalry games: Lehigh Lafayette, Quakertown, Pennridge, Becca Liberty, and this one really, I think it tops them all. I think I tell the kids when they run out onto the field to take just a moment and take a 360 and take it all in, because it is an atmosphere like no other. And I know it's, there was days when there was a big parade and it was played down at Del Val, and, those days have come and gone, but it still matters to a lot of people. It matters to the student body, to the band, to the cheerleaders, to the administration. So we're not only excited to be a part of it, but obviously our intentions are to put our best foot forward and to come out with a victory on Friday night. So it's hard to put my finger on one thing in particular, like that's a fond memory, but I'm telling you, the hair on the back of your neck stands up when you run out onto the field and you just hear, even with the phones on, you hear this energy level that is really unmatched.
Absolutely. I can attest to that, being a part of it last year. I, as a bystander and reporting on it, was absolutely elated. It was an electrifying atmosphere, which is again why this year I believe it's going to be the same. So I look forward to it. Thank you, Coach. Next up, we have two-way starter and stud, offensive tackle and defensive end for CB East, Timmy Furhmeister. Timmy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on last week's 2 tackle for loss performance. I know it wasn't the outcome that you guys expected, but you did have a good personal game. What, to you as a senior, what does this rivalry game against CB West mean to you, especially now we know a playoff spot's on the line?
I mean, a playoff spot that for sure adds intensity to the game. It's a rivalry no matter what, but it always means more, but this makes it mean even more. And with being a senior, I feel like it adds a little more to this game as well. I've personally never beaten West, and this is my last time I'll ever play West in the regular season of my career. So it means a little more. I have a little more chip on my shoulder, I feel like, and I just want to go out there and do whatever I can for me and my guys to get this W.
Okay. And what do you think, speaking of getting the W, what do you think is going to be key for you guys to do in order to pull off that upset and get that W?
Don't say too much now.
I know. I think we just need to bring our physicality. When we play our game and we play angry, I think we need to play physical, and if we bring it what we have, that's what they'll handle it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And same question for you, Tim. What would be the fondest memory for you of the East-West rivalry, whether it's on the field or off the field?
I always love the ambition leading up to it. The second week 9's over, it closes, and then you're on the week 10. You just have a different feeling for the whole week. It lasts all practice. It lasts even when you're just laying in bed at night. You're just thinking constantly. As coach says, when you step on the field, it's more electric. More people are there. More people are engaged and excited. And everyone's talking about it. They're talking about it all season, talking about it all off season. So it just means a little more. And I love all the lead up to it, and especially the big game.
Beautiful. All right, Coach. Tim, I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me real quick. Thanks for joining us this week, and I will see you two on Friday night.
Oh, man. Hey, let's go East.
Go East. Thank you very much.
Go East. All right. What a show, Insiders. Week 9 was wild, and Week 10's rivalry week is going to close out the regular season with a bang. OG, any final thoughts?
Just one, Mayhem. Rivalry week, it's hard to say, is where legends are made. I think CB West has the edge, but East is pretty hungry. Expect big hits and maybe a few game-changing plays. Insiders, strap in.
Couldn't agree more. All right, Insiders. That's a wrap for episode 8. Tune in next week as we break down the first round of the playoffs and recap all the rivalries. Until then, keep it locked on the League Lowdown. I'm Coach Mayhem.
And I'm OG. Insiders out.